looks like people started slowing down on joining the meeting here, so I'm going to go ahead and get kicked off. Just before we start here, I'm going to hit a couple housekeeping. So Mitch, if you want to click next there. The chat function is disabled, so if you have any questions, you'll use that Q&A button down in the bottom. We have some folks on the phone here from our side, so if you're having any technical difficulties, you can click that Q&A button and send a question, and they'll be monitoring that. So that way, you know, if you're having any issues, they can try to troubleshoot that on the spot for you. If you do have any other technical issues, we will send this recording out. We're going to shoot for early next week. And then we're also going to do our best to answer Q&A during this presentation, and we'll give some time at the end for additional Q&A. I know in the last one we had over 30 questions and not enough time to answer them all. So we will send out all the questions as well, and we will provide those answers. So look for that early next week. And then again, if you're having any issues, please put that in the Q&A. And then also you're welcome to ask questions as we're moving along here. So to introduce myself, I'm Tony Shaheen. I'm the commercial product manager here at DRB for Patheon. And I work closely here with Mitch. She is our product manager for the business intelligence of Patheon and our products. So this means she's focused on delivering data to customers in a more meaningful way. So today we're going to ask her some questions based on common experiences that our customers face every day. And what's really unique, I think, about this this webinar is that she's actually going to jump over to Patheon Insights, which is a tool that's included with our Patheon point of sale, and show you live how she's going to interact with that data rather than going through a PowerPoint. So like I said before, if you have any questions, pop those up in the Q&A down there at the bottom of your screen, and I'll do my best to answer those as we're moving along. Right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So Mitch, when it comes to a marketing strategy, most wash owners and operators know they need to market to grow their customer base. You know, how do they know if they're marketing effectively with the tools they're using today?
Well, there are a few dashboards that we probably can showcase to our audience today that they can use to determine that. And so I'll go ahead and share our Patheon Insights. This is our BI platform for Patheon. So this is available for all of our Patheon customers. So one of the dashboards I like to introduce first is the plan churn dashboard. So in this plan churn dashboard, you will be able to see your churn rate history as you see here in the first section of the dashboard. And it also breaks down to you the two different types of churn. So that's the two things that you wanted to look at: the involuntary churn and the voluntary churn. So to just define them loosely, involuntary churn means those plans that have churned out because their card got declined, expired, or something else happened. They didn't choose to cancel. And then voluntary churn, meaning they have requested cancellation, either they wanted to discontinue their plans or they asked for a termination. So those are the two things you wanted to look at. And also with Patheon Insights, one cool thing that we do is if it goes up the threshold of what we expect, about 8 to 9% of churn rate, it does turn red. So let's look here at the voluntary churn. In this example data that we're looking at, it's about 19.3. And also this is our test data. So don't get alarmed that this is actual data. So this is typically not realistic data. But if you click on that widget, you would be able to drill down further of what that voluntary churn looks like. You'll be able to look at the voluntary loss by plan name. You know, if you have multiple wash packages, you'll be able to see it there. You'll be able to see the reasons as well as to how many terminated and how many discontinued. And if you have multiple sites, you'd be able to see their voluntary churn per site as well. And this one right here is one that I'd like to point out, related to Tony's question earlier about marketing strategy. So the voluntary loss by plan start month, you'd be able to see the amount of plans that have churned out based on the month they started. So if you see here, in the month of August 2022, there's quite a bit of voluntary loss there, about 88%. 88 plans churned out. So that's pretty high. It can indicate that you probably did a promotion that month. And then over here on the involuntary churn, this is also a widget you can click on and be able to drill down further. And you'd be able to see involuntary churn per site if you have multiple sites. And then on Patheon, what we put for their status when they churn out based on credit card expiration or declines as they go on what we call unpaid status, which means that they have their credit card failed to reload and hence they're in this state. So if they pull in the XBT in the kiosk, they will be asked either to update their credit card information or they would be asked to, if they want to purchase a single wash. And what's unique with this dashboard is it actually tells you the customers that are in unpaid status. So for your marketing, if you have your own CRM, or if you're utilizing SUDS for your marketing automations, you could pull this segment of customers that you have and be able to reach out to them and, ask them to update their credit card information. So that's some of the tools that we provide on Patheon that can help you.
Hey, Mitch.
Yes.
So someone just asked, when it comes to, you mentioned SUDS, can you touch lightly on what SUDS could do with that information or how they would utilize SUDS and how they fit in with this?
Yeah, definitely 100%. So SUDS, as you know, is a car wash marketing agency focused on data analytics, and they can provide you with marketing email automations as well. And one of the things that they do is member retention series, and you can reach out to them if you haven't yet. You can reach out to our sales rep to ask them about SUD services that they can offer you. But you can download this one. We'll just do an example. You can download this specific table right here and download as a CSV file. And if you've been collecting email information, that would really be very useful if you wanted to target a specific segment of customers. And we'll touch on this a little bit later on as well as we go further the demo that we're doing about that. But basically you can download a CSV file and be able to give that to, if you're using SUDS, you can take that to SUDS and then they'll be able to set up those marketing automations for you.
So Mitch, I just got a question. It says, is there a way to make these visuals dynamic?
Make these visuals dynamic in a way that, is it asking for if they want to see like animations on it? Is that
I think more interactive, and if they change, are we going to see these change in real time? Or is this like running a report?
So our data tries to update real time as much as possible. And so I'm not sure I understood the question.
So they're asking if it's if the data is changing, is it automated? So yeah, so as this information changes, it's going to filter in and out. So if someone goes back into a status, they'll be pulled out of this report. Another question that showed up here was, how do they get access to the Insights dashboard? So if you're a Patheon customer today or going to be a Patheon customer, this is included with Patheon point of sale. And so we offer standard reporting with that, which would be like your paginated type reports, more your financials that you're used to today and most point of sale. So access to like a general sales report, transaction report, your kiosk cash report, and then maybe there's 14 in there. But in addition to that, you're going to have access to Patheon Insights, which you would access from your portal. And this is going to be your live dashboard that's really giving you, I like to say, a pulse on your business. So this is included with Patheon and Patheon only. And this is something that, we're going to touch on a few things here, but we would have a ton of training. I mean, Mitch can probably confirm, but you're going to see many dashboards in this Patheon Insights with, I'd say, well over 100 what we call widgets that you can interact with and take advantage of. Sorry, Mitch.
Oh, no, that's totally fine. I wanted to make sure we were able to answer the question on the visuals.
Yeah.
So I guess the short answer is yes, if you were talking about real-time data, yes, if whatever's happening on the XBT does reflect on here.
Okay.
It's not like once a day data. So, it moves with, the POS transactions. All right, and then now we'll just move forward along with the rest of the demo. So basically this is where you will go to check your churn rates, which is very, very important KPI for car wash owners. And further down the dashboard, you'll see plans sold versus plans ended. Basically, it just shows you how much you're selling versus how much you're losing. Obviously, you want to see the trend you're selling more versus ending. And obviously, if the trend is reversed, you wanted to look at your marketing strategy. Maybe your marketing promotions need a little bit more lift to them, or you have to reconsider something new. And one other tool in this plan churns dashboard, the plan's cohort analysis. So this will give you the month-over-month member retention rate that you have. So to just briefly explain what this is. So those that signed up in the month of May, in June, 94.7% of them got retained. And then in July, 90% of those got retained from those that signed up in May. Then August, then September, and so on and so forth, up until the last current month. And if you remember from the voluntary churn rate widget that we were drilling earlier, you see that in August, there was 88 plans that churned out. And so if you look in September, your retention rate went down a little bit to 73%, which means you lost about a quarter of them when you did the promo. So it does tell you that, you did a promo probably around August and you lost a lot of them in September. It could have been like a first month, $9.99 first month promotion, which is pretty typical for what we see. When you do a promotion, you'll retain about 75% of them and churn out about 25% of them, which is honestly not bad of a deal there. But those are some of the tools that you can look at to really optimize your marketing strategy, to look at the health of your marketing strategy rather, and to drill down further to your marketing strategies, your member retention, for example. You wanted to look at how much they're using their member plan. So one big metric that we look at is how often they use it in a month. Because what we know for sure is if members are not using their plans as much, that means that they're not seeing the benefits and therefore they're more likely to cancel. So we do have a dashboard that solves that problem, which is the plan usage dashboard, which basically shows you the average wash per plan. So I just selected a specific month for demo purposes. And it also shows you the plans with less than 4 washes. So our benchmark is, we expect for them to use it at least 2 to 4 times within the month. That's a pretty healthy number. And typically if it's lower than that, if it's 1 or 0 within the month, that means they're more likely to churn out. And those are ones that you really want to focus on. And this dashboard does give you that picture. If you do have some plans that you need to reach out to and mentioning Suds earlier, they do member retention series, and this is where it comes in, is you want to keep targeting these members, keep it on top of mind, the benefits, to encourage them to keep using it. And over here, it basically just gives you a table of your current member base, customer phone number, email. Very important that you're capturing their contact info so you can keep targeting them and, ensure that, they're using their membership. You'll be able to see their plan statuses, number of vehicles, like the total redeems, how many times they're redeeming it in a month. You can select multiple months as well if you wanted to go quarterly or a year. You can modify that on here too. But this is like one way to help you with member retention marketing strategies if you're working on that. And one cool thing with Patheon too is we have what is called customer segments. It logged me out. Just give me a few moments to log back in. 1, 2. And I'll actually like to show you here really quick. This makes it really easy to segment those customers, those members that you want to target. So we were just talking about earlier, the plans with less than 4 washes. So it could be like 0 washes. They've never used their plans and we're just charging them, and we want them to use that. So in Patheon, we have what is called customer segments. You can make your own segments too based on specific filters, but we also have pre-configured ones on the system already, which we know, are the metrics that we typically look at, like active members, discontinuing members, high churn stuff, inactive members, if you wanted to retarget those that have canceled. And the one that I wanted to point out here is members with low redemption. So, since we were talking about, we wanted to target these members with low redemptions, it just gives you that list of all of your members that don't use their plans as much. So it gives you phone number and email, license plate, and RFID number. And then you can click on export entries, and that will give you a download of a CSV file right there, which is very compatible with many CRMs, and you can just plug and play with your CRM. And yeah, it just makes it really easy for you. Tony, did that suffice, like the first question? Yeah.
Yes, considering I threw you off there. Sorry about that. When it comes to operational efficiency, we know gaining customers is extremely important, but the operational efficiency is important as well. How can customers use these dashboards to ensure they are operating as efficiently as possible?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the dashboards we have on Patheon Insights is what we call wash efficiency insights. So one of the things that car wash owners look at is total car counts for today. Obviously, this is test data. So this is like a very good day for a car wash, 920 cars so far. And then it also gives you a comparison from a week ago, also gives you a breakdown by purchase mix, like pay as you go is like our new feature. And also for your unlimited redeems, you'll also be able to see your unlimited redeems. And that's one metric that we look at as well. You can also look at by wash packages over here. You have your hourly car counts, which is a big thing, obviously. It is going to help you staff attendance appropriately in your car wash. And then car counts for the month also give you trends based on historical data on here. So we have a heat map as well, a visual that can help you identify which are your typical busy days. Typically for most car washes, it will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Usually earlier during the week is a little bit light. And I just wanted to point that out since this is test data, and typically this would not be representative of a typical car wash. And one thing that I like to highlight as well is our car count predictive trend. So this car count predictive trend is based on your historical data, basically since the inception of your car wash site. And it just predicts your car count throughout, and it will give you a forecast of your car counts for the coming week. It gives you an upper range as well as a lower range, and it does tell you the confidence level. So what this means is we're 80% confident that we're right and 20% confident that we might be a little bit off. So which takes the guessing game out of it. So you're not just guessing on the fly, and you have something reliable to look at. We also have average hourly car counts, which basically shows you the trend based on your historical data. Typically would tell you, oh yeah, within like the hours of 12 to 2 p.m., it looks like that is your peak hours during the day. We also have the aggregated hourly car count, which is basically the similar data as this, but just in a presented in a different way. So yeah, that's one of the things on here.
Hey,
that
Mitch,
yes.
someone just asked, actually, I just got two questions very similar. One was about weather. So this was someone who's definitely at StatWatch. Will we be incorporating, is there weather incorporated with this? And then just to continue, someone said, will StatWatch be available in Patheon, or are these replacing it?
Yes, that's a very good question. So on the weather, so this specific dashboard right now, it doesn't have the weather yet, but we are working on a weather stats dashboard. We wanted it to be as accurate as possible, depending on where, zip codes and all that. And so we are working on it to integrate it with Patheon Insights. And also in relation to StatWatch. And so we are recreating those dashboards on Patheon, and they are going to be released here in, I would say probably in the next month. Yeah, but we have built them.
This is a recorded meeting, Mitch. They're going to go back to that. So that's good news. I've had a lot of people ask about that.
Yeah. So yeah, like the main StatWatch dashboards, we are recreating them on Patheon, and they will be available on Patheon Insights. And so we have just barely finished them. We're just cleaning up the final touches on it, but that's something that's upcoming. And I know weather stats dashboard is big, so we are working on that one. So we are looking at the second half of the year to make that available. And so, yeah, good question.
Mitch, do you have more on the operational efficiency? I do have two more questions that aren't quite related to that, but I might wait to ask them if you're going to show some more.
No, I think we should be good on the operational efficiency. Yeah, if we wanted to entertain some questions, we can do that too.
Two questions that came up. One was, it looks like you're in a web browser. So is this accessible outside of like their wash? Can they access this from home or? Yes,
you can actually access this through a mobile app. So we have a mobile app called Patheon Insights. So if you go to App Store or Google Play, you would be able to find this there. And so whatever is on here on the web browser, you would be able to see the mobile version as well.
So they can download an app, or they can use their web browser on their computer at home, or just the app?
They can use both. So you can use your web browser if you prefer to look at it in a desktop version. And you can also download your mobile app on your phone if you want to just, you're on the go and you just want to quickly look at it on your phone. So both are available for you.
Okay. All right, good. I think that's all the questions we've had so far. Okay. So one other thing I wanted you to talk about here, I know we're approaching the 30-minute mark here. Things happen with technology, and we just want to know, is there a way for customers to proactively check on their business to ensure that everything is running smoothly? It's technology.
Yes, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up, because we have a dashboard that's called Plan Reloads Dashboard. So as Tony was asking me, there are a lot of things that can happen. So with operating a POS system, there's the hardware portion of it, there's the software version of it, which is Patheon, and there's also the credit card processor side of things. So there's like 3 things happening all at once, depending on, who you're using. It's like typically different servers, different everything. So sometimes issues happen, unfortunately. So we do have the Plan Reloads dashboard to help you proactively monitor your business. And so you would be able to see here your total reload history, because you wanted to check if your plans are reloading successfully. Hence, we also have the plan usage dashboard on there and the plan churn dashboard, to basically help you cross-check in all places. Oh, why is my churn rate high? And it's probably because I have a high declines for that day. And, segueing to the total decline plans per day, you'll be able to see here how many plans are declining. Obviously, if you have more members, you'll have a higher decline. So just keep that in mind. And you will know your benchmarks typically, like what's your normal decline day, declines every day. But if you are seeing that there's a day that's a little bit higher than normal, let's just say your normal is like 15 a day, but if you're seeing like 30 or 40 in a specific day, then that's probably something you could look at. So either there's an issue with your credit card processor or software, and if it does turn out that the issue is on our end, and then we have what's called a retry period that you can ask for our support team to extend that for you, to give us time to resolve the issue if the issue is on our end, or at least identify the root cause of the problem. And another data point that's available on this dashboard is also the reload revenue. So if the issue is on the credit card processor side, you can cross-reference the reload revenue that's expected from your credit card payments versus what you have received from the credit card processor. So these are some of the tools that can help you out with proactively monitoring.
So someone asked again, so I'm going to make sure I reiterate this for everyone. So this is Patheon Insights, and this is a tool that is built into Patheon. And so Mitch, you showed it for a quick second, but just so everyone sees how you would access it, can you go back to the Patheon portal where you showed the segments and just kind of hover over where the Insights button is, so folks who have Patheon or are wondering how they access this can see how it's kind of integrated into one?
Oh, yes, 100%. So this would be your Patheon portal. So if you're a Patheon customer, you'd be able to see this. I think my test account, it doesn't have the insights on it.
Yeah.
Normally, it would appear on here, Insights, and then you'll click here, and then it'll take you to this.
And then just to go back to the point we touched on earlier, can you click on that report section to show how this is kind of separate from the paginated reports?
Yes.
So the Insights button there would just pop up right next to the reports button. And then the reports would be the ones I mentioned earlier, which are like your financial reports.
Yes, and this would be your financial reports, what we call paginated reports. They are print ready and you can export them in different file formats. And so I'll click on one to just show really quickly general sales report. I'll start with that one, since that's a very important report.
And so while that's loading, we know that a lot of people who are in the industry and especially have access to SiteWatch are used to the general sales report. And so it's a very important tool that we've made sure to make a little bit more intuitive, easier to understand. The difference between this and Insights is this is definitely more static, where you can choose some of your channels, some of the start and stop date. And then you have the ability to export this to a CSV, and then you can upload that to an accounting software or another piece of technology that you might use. And so this is more of your standard reporting for your data, where Insights is more actionable, live, and interactive. So another question came up, but I'll touch on that one in the end here. One other thing, Mitch, that I thought would be beneficial from a question I saw earlier is, can you go back to Insights and just show how there's multiple dashboards that our customers will have access to with different data?
Yes. Actually, I'll remove. There we go. So on the left pane of the page, you will see the current dashboards that we have available. So you'd be able to see it here. We can look at Sales Insights, for example. I'll just pick this one, and you'd be able to look at the different things that we have on here. And one of the things we didn't get to point out is some of these dashboards, we have an icon over here about giving details about that specific widget. So it tells you what it is and what type of data is being shown to you.
Oh, someone just asked about alerting. So can this, does this show a notification or send emails to them or their employees?
Actually, that's a very good question. So yes, we do. So we call them Pulse, and you'll see them right here. But before I go there, I actually show you something really quickly here. So if you wanted to check on a specific metric, so let's just say voluntary churn, since we were talking about this earlier, and if you are concerned that your churn rate is higher than 10%, for example, I'm just throwing out a number here, or if you're concerned that there's too many terminateds, you can right click on that specific data point and then add to Pulse. You can click on that one, and then you'd be able to name it. Let's just put terminated, and then you can do either threshold or automatic or always, if you just want to be notified all the time about it, or if you just want a specific, oh yeah, if it reaches like 50, please notify me about that. So, and then you'll click on add. And then over here on Pulse, you'd be able to see, and this is the one that I just added on here. And so this is the one that you'd be able to look at if you wanted to. And you also get notifications over here. And then if you wanted to be notified for the Pulse via email, you can do that as well.
Now, someone's asking a question, but I think this is going to be more Patheon related. So I'll touch on it lightly. And if you have anything that might go with the reporting, you can definitely add that. But the question was, is there a way to incorporate sales tax into the software? Our city collects sales tax on the car wash revenue, however, the state does not. So as part of our reporting, we will break out the tax. And one of the things we did with Patheon is we partnered with a company called Avalara, and they are tax experts. And so what we were able to do is implement their technology into Patheon. So you have the ability to apply the tax accordingly based on your location. So their software will actually look at your zip code and your location and apply the appropriate tax as you set up a wash. So in this case, you would be able to apply the tax for the city, but not for the state. And it would automatically calculate that. And then I believe that would show up on a paginated report, but that would not show up in Patheon Insights. Is that correct, Mitch?
So yes, that is correct. So in the GSRs or transaction reports, you'd be able to see the breakdown of sales tax on there. And so there are some most of the dashboards on Patheon Insights do not involve sales tax. And so you won't see it there. we are coming up with a specific, I know sales tax is like a big thing, especially when you're filing taxes with IRS. So I know it's being asked for a long time as a sales tax report. So we are coming up with a sales tax report as well. So we are expecting to have that second half of the year as well. So, have a record of it, help you with your sales tax as well. But insights wise for now, like there's no specific dashboard that has sales tax.
So a question just came in and it said, can you customize the widgets to your liking? So I think that means, can you adjust them to show specific data? So I'm not sure if that means the interactive portion of it, but if you have any insight on that, that'd be helpful.
So currently right now, these dashboards that we have available, the one that you see on the left, so these are ones that we built for customers. So they won't be able to modify the widgets. And that is a good idea. We have heard some feedback. They wanted to be able to kind of like DIY your own dashboard. So that's something that we are considering. One thing that you could do, however, so coming back to the polls, is if you want to create your own little dashboard of like the different metrics that you care about, that you think that will help your day-to-day operations, you can create a pulse. You can set up a pulse for those ones. So you can do car counts here, terminated, and all that good stuff. And then you can create your own little dashboard with your own little widgets. And so that's one thing that we have right now. If you're interested in creating your own widgets, we do have polls. But as for the actual dashboards, like these dashboards right now, unfortunately, there's no way right now, at least, that you can create your own widgets.
Mitch, I think one thing that would be helpful, could you show maybe on the plan analysis dashboard or another dashboard, but how when you click on one specific piece of maybe a pie chart, that it reflects and changes all the other data accordingly. So when you click on one, it'll automatically adjust to everything else to kind of customize it. I know it's a temporary view, but it might give a little bit of an idea of how everything else reacts when you click on an item.
Yes, and so let's go to Essential Web App Sales. So basically, this is a dashboard that gives you details about the transactions that happen through the e-commerce website. So I will click on this one. Basically, when you click on the data point, maybe that's not a good one. And so maybe I'll just use plan churn. That actually might work a little bit better. So if you click on a specific one, and then it will give you, you can add your pulse to it. And then if you click on plan, the breakdown by plan name, you'll be able to see just for that plan, and then those that terminated under that specific wash package. So those are some things that you can see when you click on a data point. Does that help?
Yeah, I think that shows what I was talking about. And that's how many of the widgets are in Patheon Insights. So you see that pie chart there. If you click on any one of them, it will actually adjust every other report that you're looking at, or every other widget, to reflect what you clicked on. So I have a question here. It says, how often do these dashboards refresh the data? So if something changes at the site, how long do you think it takes on average for that to reflect here in Patheon Insights?
So I cannot give you the exact time that it takes, but if that's of an interest, we can investigate and we can follow up on our Q&A documentation later
I'll
on.
take a note of that. So maybe we can run some numbers and see what the average time is across some sites. Okay.
Yeah, but what we can tell you is it updates pretty quickly. We try to get close to real time as possible. And so the longest lag probably would be a few hours. a couple of hours, but it should reflect pretty quickly.
Taking a note there. Okay. Okay, I think we hit on all the questions I had. Oh, here we go. Is there a report that can calculate or display capture or conversion rate? If so, is it by site or by people?
Yes, we actually do. So in our quick hitters dashboard, you would be able to, basically the quick hitters dashboard are like the quick data points that is important to a car wash owner. And here you would be able to, and since this is also fake data, by the way, so I know the numbers are inflated right now, so forgive me for that. But this is where you would see your capture rate for today and yesterday and for the month. And then your unlimited plans sold so far for the day.
If you click on this, so on the right, you can filter this by site. So
Yes.
On the right side there, you can see how we can choose from different sites. You can see your total business, or you can choose individual, or what's coming soon is grouping. So if you have quite a few sites and you group into geographies, that will be coming. And then as for by employee, we are working on the Patheon side to develop a commission calculator. So a little bit more robust version of calculating commission, capturing it properly at kiosks and tablets and the point of sale. And that's estimated to come towards the end of the year in Q4. And so as we build that out, that will be where we partner with our data team here, Mitch and her team, to incorporate things like that. So today you can't see it by employee, but it is on our roadmap. And so normally I would have said we're to the Q&A part, but everyone's asking so many questions. I think it's easy to see that we're there already. So at this point, if you have any other questions, please send them this way. I believe so far I've touched on every question that's been asked. Another one was I had a few interruptions, and normally I'd wrap this up, but yes, we will be taking this recording. We will be sending it out to everybody who registered, and I believe we'll be posting it. And then we will also take a summary of all these questions that we've been talking about. We'll answer them on paper, and then we'll send those out with that recording as well. And like I said earlier, our target is a few business days, so we would love to have that out to you early next week. The recording and the questions as well. There. Oh. Can we connect to this data via the API?
I'll probably take that one. So we do have our data APIs available. So it's a read-only API. So there are a few things that you can pull, like transactions, and all of that good stuff like product mix. And if this is of an interest, we can also provide some information about the data API on the Q&A documentation that follows afterwards. And so, yes, we do have a read-only API. It probably won't be these exact dashboards, but the data tables that influence these dashboards, yes, we do have that available. And if you are a Patheon customer, you can reach out to a salesperson, to your sales representative, and they can break down to you the fees that are associated with our data APIs.
And, I see that's from an anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure if I've met you, but if you don't know who your sales representative is, you can always reach out and reply to the email that comes out after this and just say, hey, I need to be contacted, and we'll be happy to get you in contact with the right person. Okay. So at this point, again, we're in the Q&A portion, I'd say at this point. Are there any other questions or anything else that you may have seen that Mitch drove past here as she was looking through or explaining these dashboards? Okay. So I think that wraps it up for us. And like I said before, this will be coming out hopefully as soon as Tuesday would be my goal, or sooner, for early next week. And we will be summarizing these questions up as well. And so while this was a high level overview and a little bit focused on what we're hearing from some of our wash operators that we're meeting with, we're always open for a more in-depth demo. I know there's a lot of information here, so as you come up with questions, feel free to reach out to your sales rep, and they'll be able to dive in a little deeper. And if they need assistance, we can always bring Mitch in to dive into that information a little deeper with you. But it looks like we are done with questions. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to join today, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.